everyone. Welcome back to the Click and Mortar podcast. I'm Mike, my partner Dustin. We run an agency called EIC Agency, and we are here to disseminate digital marketing and advertising knowledge to you all, that which we do have. So today we wanted to talk about advertising spend, digital advertising spend. We often get the question from prospective clients, how much should my ad spend be? It's a very basic, but a very important question that we get quite often. We have, I think, a little bit of a unique spin on how and why we approach it the way we do. So Dustin, I'll kick it over to you with that question. What should my ad spend be?
Always love that question because it's our response is, what are your goals? And to us, that's how you should approach what you should budget for. That forces you to kind of understand or kind of articulate what your goals are. Because more times than not, we see quite a few businesses come in and just, hey, I have $2,000 to spend and just spend it and don't even know what are your goals. Can you define success or not? And ultimately, that's why people feel like they're burned is that expectation of what is success, what's not, hasn't been defined. And so once you know what you want, then you can reverse engineer what it costs to actually do that. That might realign your expectations and how much you actually want. And you might come down on that depending on what your budget actually is. But that's typically how we approach it is reverse engineering and really aligning with what are the outcomes of the goals that would define success for you.
Fantastic. Yes. And I would guide it back to our other conversation last week, which you can check out on our blog and or on Spotify. We did a podcast on ROI and calculating ROI for your advertising efforts. So obviously the top line of that was ad spend. How much am I spending? And we broke it down into its component pieces of, well, ad spend needs to get to the end goal. So move it actually backwards. So if you say, hey, I need to make 5 sales this month, how many customers do I need to get in the door that I can have that are going to be prospective customers to get those 5 sales? What is it costing me to get those 5 customers and or those 5 meetings? What is that customer worth to me? And then do the ROI calculation from there. So I'd encourage you all to look back to that podcast and that conversation about calculating your marketing ROI. But we really encourage looking at goals first, like Dustin said. What are your goals? What are you trying to achieve here? And then back into your advertising spend from there.
Yep. And when we get that question, most people are not spending a ton. Or they're not spending at all. So in my opinion, how I like to kind of educate is rather than define sales, if you haven't spent anything, this is benchmarking. Learn the conversations around what are KPIs, what are impressions, what are clicks. Learn how to have the conversation, and that's kind of the goal. Don't start with a ton of budget. Start with $500, then grow into 1,000. But start to get your hands dirty, and once you start to learn it, then you start looking at sales and all of that. I think too many people try and look for I need to be 3x ROI positive, even though I've never spent anything. It's like that. It's never going to happen. It's going to take 3 to 6 months. So let's realign what your goals are out the gate. And education is that first piece of the goal setting. So I just want to kind of tie that in there that it isn't always going to be ROI positive month one, that typically it's going to take 60, 90 days to start breaking even, seeing profitability. But once you do, it's off to the races.
2 very good points there that I wanted to point out as well. Number one is there are some minimum spends that you should be spending either on Google, Facebook, YouTube, et cetera, to have some volume and some momentum, if you will. So on average, at the very minimum, you want to be spending $50 to $100 a day per platform to get some momentum and some movement. Second point, which you made, which I'll just reemphasize is give it time and have runway, have some burn so that you have at least 3 to 6 months to have a true ROI and to get your metrics really locked in. At least 3 to 6 months. Really crucial on that front. Too many people get in, hey, I did it for 2 months, it didn't work. You didn't give it time. You need to give it time, you have to let it mature and really build and then learn and iterate as well.
Yep. Rome was not built in a day.
Moral of the story this week is Rome was not built in a day, but have those minimums that you need to get to and your goals, and then plan that out for 3 to 6 months. Have that number and be willing to commit to that number from the start. At least you know where you're going to invest and where you're trying to go. Again, if you don't have a roadmap, you don't know where you're going, you don't know if you're even getting there. So set that, determine that from the onset, and hopefully these parameters and these guidelines will help you do that. All right, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for the time. Reach out to us if you do want to do a discovery about this, anything in this digital advertising, digital marketing spend. We do discovery calls, obviously no charge, so reach out to us and we'll have a chat. And until then, we'll see you next time.